a while since you last saw us, but we're back anyway, so let's take a look at the headlines for today.
Former President Donald Trump is headed to court to face federal indictment charges.
Cuba and China working together to spy on the U.S.
The so-called Unabomber is found dead in his prison cell.
A tanker truck crash shuts down a major interstate.
And Russia gets some help from Iran to attack Ukraine with drones. Security is about to be even tighter in Miami after former President Donald Trump was indicted by a federal grand jury on Thursday following an investigation into his handling of classified documents after leaving office.
Trump is expected to appear in federal court in Miami to be arraigned on charges tomorrow after being accused of willfully retaining classified documents containing highly sensitive information.
And here's more from Fox News' Jonathan Siri.
The former president has been indicted on 37 counts related to the alleged mishandling of classified White House documents stored in various locations around his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, some containing sensitive information on U.S. military capabilities and strategy. In one incident at Mr. Trump's golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, prosecutors allege during an audio-recorded meeting with a writer, a publisher, and two members of his staff, none of whom possess a security clearance, Mr. Trump showed and described a plan of attack from the Department of Defense. Mr. Trump says even if he is convicted, he will continue to run for president. He tells Politico, quote, "I'll never leave."
Cuba has agreed to allow China to build a spying facility on the island that could allow the Chinese to eavesdrop on electronic communications across the southeastern U.S.
The U.S. learned about the plan in the last several weeks, and it is unclear whether China has already begun building the surveillance facility.
Here's more from Fox News' Alexandria Hoff.
The back and forth began after the Wall Street Journal reported that China had reached a secret agreement with Cuba to establish an electronic eavesdropping facility. Administration official tells Fox News that the inaccurate part is calling the Chinese spying effort new. Quote, "This is an ongoing issue and not a new development, and the arrangement is characterized in the reporting does not comport with our understanding. When this administration took office in January 2021, we were briefed on a number of sensitive PRC efforts around the world to expand its overseas logistics, basing and collection infrastructure globally to allow the PLA to project and sustain military power at a greater distance."
Ted Kaczynski, the vengeful bomber who killed 3 people in a series of attacks over a nearly 2-decade span before his own relatives helped authorities identify him, has died at the age of 81.
Kaczynski, known as the Unabomber, died at the Federal Prison Medical Center in Butner, North Carolina. Christy Brashears, a spokesperson for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, told the Associated Press.
He was found unresponsive in his cell early yesterday morning and pronounced dead at about 8 a.m. local time, she said. A cause of death was not immediately known.
And here's more from Fox News' Charles Watson.
Well, we're told that Theodore Kaczynski, infamously branded as the Unabomber by the FBI, died in his prison this morning at the Federal Prison Medical Center in Butner, North Carolina. That coming from a spokesperson from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Kaczynski, who was 81 years old, was found unresponsive in his cell and was pronounced dead around 8 o'clock this morning after a troubled history. Prior to his transfer to that medical facility, he was held in the Supermax prison in Colorado for his role in the 17-year terror campaign against many universities across the country.
A section of northbound I-95 in Philadelphia has collapsed after a tanker truck caught fire underneath the highway, Philadelphia Central said this morning.
We did have a collapse of 95, okay, on the northbound side, okay? And the southbound side is compromised by heavy fire. It looked like we had a lot of heat and heavy fire underneath the underpass, okay?
Photos and videos from the scene show huge plumes of smoke billowing from the interstate.
The mayor's office told CNN a large tanker truck fire caused the collapse. The highway is closed in both directions around the area, and the fire is under control, according to Sarah Pearson, the office's communications director.
Dominic Morels, director of Philadelphia's Office of Emergency Management, said officials will be dealing with the collapse of the fire for a long time.
The fire is under investigation by the fire marshal and other partners. The Philadelphia Office of Emergency Management urged travelers to avoid the area and seek alternate routes.
The White House said on Friday that Russia appeared to be deepening its defense cooperation with Iran and had received hundreds of one-way attack drones that it is using to strike Ukraine.
White House spokesman John Kirby said in a statement that the U.S. is also concerned that Russia is working with Iran to produce Iranian UAVs from inside Russia.
Kirby also stated the U.S. had information that Russia was receiving materials from Iran required to build a drone manufacturing plant that could be fully operational early next year.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg claimed recently that the scientific establishment asked his platform to censor posts about COVID-19 that ended up being debatable or true.
In his comments during Thursday's episode of the Lex Fridman podcast on Fox News, Zuckerberg discussed the issues and challenges of executing his platform policies on removing misinformation.
Zuckerberg noted the establishment encouraged him to enforce these shaky facts, saying they, quote, asked for a bunch of things to be censored that, in retrospect, ended up being more debatable or true, end quote.
Still to come, a Florida teenager arrested for shooting his grandmother who was a veteran of Desert Storm.
A group of indigenous children have been found in Colombia after spending 40 days in the jungle.
And some concerning news on Britney Spears. We'll be right back.
With their Verizon private 5G network, Associated British Ports can now precisely orchestrate nearly 600,000 vehicles passing through their UK port every year. Don't just connect your business.
Right on.
Make it even smarter. We call this enterprise intelligence.
どのくらいここにいると思いますか？
卵を産むに十分な期間ってことですよね。
なんかこっち来てませんか？ VisionWorks. See the difference.
Before Bass Pro Shops even had a name. Before we sold boats and gear for hunting and camping. Before the 2 shelves of tackle in the back of the liquor store. Before the early mornings and the short nights. Before the first road trip. Even the first tournament. Before all of that, there was fishing and there was Dad. Thanks, Dad, for always making the time to take me fishing.
Welcome back. A father who drowned Friday near Sylvania Avenue Beach in Avon-by-the-Sea, New Jersey, has been identified as FDNY firefighter Mark Batista.
The FDNY said Batista, a veteran assigned to Engine Company 226 in Brooklyn, had lost his life while he and his family visited the Jersey shore.
Here's more from Fox News' Chris DeMeo.
39-year-old Mark Batista and his family were enjoying a trip to the Jersey Shore, but it soon turned tragic Saturday morning when Batista noticed his teenage daughter caught in a rip current near a pier. He jumped in but never made it out. Batista was found about 2 hours later submerged. He was later pronounced dead. His daughter was pulled out by rescuers. She's expected to fully recover. There were no lifeguards on duty. Batista was a member of the FDNY for 15 years. Chris DeMeo, Fox News.
A Florida teenager was charged this week with the murder of a 60-year-old grandmother who was a veteran of Desert Storm.
Angela Sutton Washington was shot and killed February 7th near a strip mall in Orlando, Florida.
The alleged shooter, who's 15 years old, was charged with first-degree murder with a weapon Friday, 4 months after the investigation into her murder began, the Orlando Police Department said.
Here's more from Fox News' Laura Cantor.
Orlando police say the 15-year-old shooter was charged with first-degree murder with a weapon Friday, thanks to homicide detectives' relentless efforts as well as cooperation from the community and Central Florida crime line. 60-year-old Angela Sutton Washington was fatally shot near a strip mall in Orlando, Florida on February 7th. Authorities say the Desert Storm veteran was not the intended target. She had stopped at the convenience store to pick up something on her way home. Fernando Washington telling Fox 35 that he hopes his mother's murder will be a catalyst for change. Laura Cantor, Fox News.
U.S. President Joe Biden hosted the largest Pride celebration in White House history yesterday, calling for new measures to protect the rights and safety of LGBTQ plus people amid a spate of what he called terrifying attacks and legislation.
Here's more from Fox News' Alexandria Hoff.
The celebration was held on the South Lawn. It was originally scheduled for Thursday, but had to be moved because of the dangerous air quality that day. Yesterday did hold sunny skies for the event, though, which welcomed hundreds in an effort to display the administration's commitment to supporting LGBTQ rights. It was billed as an all-American picnic. First Lady Jill Biden kicked off the event with a short speech. The First Lady's speech and the event as a whole placed a large focus on the last 2 letters of the LGBTQ and Republican policies that the White House claims discriminates against transgender individuals and children. Earlier in the week, the White House announced new actions to protect LGBTQI plus individuals and kids from what they refer to as attacks.
A Delta Airlines flight traveling from New York to Los Angeles had to make an emergency landing in Utah due to a technical glitch in the air slide, as per a report by the New York Post.
The flight, which had 168 passengers on board, was en route to Los Angeles when the captain announced the emergency landing in Salt Lake City.
Upon landing in Utah, passengers were instructed to disembark the aircraft. The New York Post report states that the plane was scheduled to depart again later in the afternoon after necessary technical repairs were completed.
However, during the process of passengers reboarding and preparing for takeoff, an inflatable air slide at the back of the aircraft accidentally deployed while the plane was still at the gates.
This unexpected deployment caused injury to one of the crew members, who was subsequently transported to the hospital but was later released.
The exact cause of the technical glitch leading to the emergency landing has not been disclosed.
Still ahead, a miraculous story of survival in the jungles of Colombia.
Plus, the WNBA is investigating an incident involving Brittany Griner.
And a look ahead at tonight's Tony Awards. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
I was stuck. Unresolved depression symptoms were in my way. I needed more from my antidepressant. Vraylar helped give it a lift.
Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. And in Vraylar clinical studies, most saw no substantial impact on weight. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults, report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Movement dysfunction and restlessness are common side effects. Stomach and sleep issues, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are also common. Side effects may not appear for several weeks.
I didn't have to change my treatment. I just gave it a lift.
Ask about Vraylar and learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Welcome back. 4 indigenous children who survived an Amazon plane crash that killed 3 adults wandered on their own in their jungle for 40 days before being found alive by Colombian soldiers.
The announcement of their rescue on Friday brought a happy ending to a saga that had captivated many Colombians, a watch of highs and lows as searchers frantically combed through the rainforest hunting for the youngsters.
Here's Fox News' Katie Logan with more.
They had been alone for 40 days when soldiers found them. The youngest just a baby of 11 months old, the eldest only 13. The children had been on a flight with their mother when that aircraft they were traveling in crashed on May 1st. There were frantic search efforts as soon as that flight disappeared from radar, apparently with engine failure. But it took another 2 weeks to find the wreckage, and the children were nowhere near it. Rescuers were able to track footprints in the jungle until they eventually found the children, and it's still not clear how they survived alone for that long. The Colombian government says they may have been saved by a nomadic tribe, and soldiers had meanwhile dropped food parcels in the hope that children would find them.
Britney Spears' family is worried about the singer, fearing that she will die like Amy Winehouse as her drug taking has resumed.
And it's a very tense situation for all those who hope the end of Britney's conservatorship would mark the beginning of a new chapter of happiness and stability for the singer.
The past 18 months have suggested something is still not good with the singer, who has posted a series of highly emotional and bizarre messages on social media since the end of her conservatorship.
According to Daily Mail, Britney's parents, her brother, her former husband, and her children for a new documentary say the situation is more deeply troubling than even we had guessed.
The WNBA released a statement yesterday afternoon addressing an incident that took place in an airport in Dallas involving Brittany Griner and other Phoenix Mercury players.
Here's Fox News' Matt Napolitano with more on the incident.
Phoenix Mercury center Brittany Griner and her teammates were confronted by a conservative vlogger at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport on Saturday. Video on social media shows the man asking Griner about her political beliefs, including whether she hates America. He also references Victor Bout, the prisoner that was returned to Russia in exchange for Griner to release her from custody on drug charges there. The WNBA adding in their statement Saturday, quote, "It has come to our attention that this was orchestrated by a social media figure and provocateur. His actions were inappropriate and unfortunate. The safety of Brittany Griner and all WNBA players is our top priority." Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
And stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.